recording the live stream right now. Just a moment.
Okay. So I believe
we are live.
We're live, and I'm back to being the host. And okay. So I don't know what happened to the poll here. Hold on. There it is. Okay. So there are 83 people present. That should constitute a quorum. And not everyone has signed in. Please sign in. I will leave this poll up for a while to give a chance for new people to sign up until we need a next poll. So I'll leave it up. Okay, so welcome everyone to our February 16th, 2020 meeting of Faculty Council. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Just to quickly review the procedure, we are operating on
Dr. Langsam, another interruption, I'm sorry. Could you please make me co-host again so I can start recording?
Yes. Okay.
And we are recording.
Good. Okay, so we are operating under the governor's executive order that allows us to have meetings remotely, assuming that we record the meeting, and you just heard that we are recorded. You can watch the upper right-hand corner of the screen. It says that we're recording, and that we are live streaming as well, so that only people who are members of Faculty Council are in this room, and everyone else, the whole world, can watch it. Roll call is being taken both online by your registering, showing up, as well as on the poll, and I noticed that 88 of 89 people have voted that they are here. Please continue to vote. Please note that I will not be monitoring the chat. The chat is not a part of the official record. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. For those who don't know how to do it, one more time. Okay, if you bring up your participant list, which you find on the bottom of your screen, at the bottom of the list, there is a little thing that says raise hand. If you raise the hand, hopefully I will notice you, or Andre will notice you, and will call upon you to talk. Okay. The first item on the agenda is the minutes of December 8th, 2020. Martha, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. You have the minutes in your packet. There are two changes. I will change the minutes to include the language of the resolution that was passed under new business last time about the resolution about the no credit policy. In addition, I will include in the minutes the communication from the implementation team as well as Professor Wasser's response. So those should be forthcoming.
Are there any questions, discussions, changes, or comments on the minutes? Hearing none, is there anyone who objects to the minutes as amended? Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, we will assume that the minutes have been approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Please mark that for the record. Okay, we now move to reports from the steering committee. The steering committee simply wants to announce, first, the steering committee is very happy to see you all, and I hope you are all in good health. The steering committee wants to report that University Faculty Senate elections 2021 will be held on nominations. Andre, please continue to let people in so I don't have to interrupt. Nominations will be held during the week of February 22nd through 26th. Elections to be held the week of March 22nd through 26th, 2021. Please look for that in your email. Just to tell you who are members right now. So there's Group 1A full-time faculty, consists of Senators Louise Hainline, whose term expires in 2021, Sharon Levy, 2021, and Alex Vitale, whose term expires in 2021. Other senators are Professor John Janone, 2022, Tracy Wong, 2022, Douglas Cohen, 2023, Professor Majabulu Okami, 2023, and Janice Saxena, 2023, and Chia Ju Chang, 2023. Alternate senators for Group 1A, which you'll be voting on, are Mara Schwarzstein, Miles Bassell, and John Paul, all who term expires in 2021. Then there is Group 1B, which consists of adjuncts and college laboratory technicians. There is one senator, Anna Believa, whose term expires in 2023, and there's an alternate senator which is vacant at this point, so that someone will propose someone to be an alternate. Please remember that if you nominate people to this, that you've checked with them that they will indeed attend. The UFS meets once a month. Okay, and it is of critical importance that you make Brooklyn College's voice heard in the UFS. So please, and those who are senators, I encourage you to come as well. So thank you very much for your service. And I'd look forward to many people actively attending and speaking up. Okay, that's it for the steering committee. Are there any questions for the steering committee? Hearing no questions for the steering committee, we move to the communications from the administration. President Anderson.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the spring 2021 semester. This is the first faculty meeting, of course, of the semester, and it's really nice to see you all here. By my count, this is pandemic semester number 5. That is the spring of 2020. We started the summer of 2020, the fall of 2020, the winter of 2021, and now spring 2021. So this is, again, a very challenging semester for all of us. For many, it is extremely challenging, as you all know. It's tough for faculty, it's really tough for staff, and perhaps most of all, it's tough for our students. I would ask that you try to express compassion and kindness and gratitude toward one another. I will start by expressing gratitude for all of you for your service to the college by serving here on Faculty Council. I want to begin with a few updates on issues that we've talked about in Faculty Council meetings last semester. First, the stated meeting of the faculty this semester is scheduled for April 6th at 12:30. It will be a live webinar or Zoom session, and I'm looking forward to it. Next, I want to update you on the November Faculty Council resolution. There were 2 provisions in that resolution that I indicated I would act upon. First, to appoint to the Support Staff Screening Committee a staff member nominated by other staff members. As you know, we recently announced the newly formed Presidential Advisory Committee on Staff, which will nominate staff members for this position. They are assembling shortly, and this is the first item of the agenda on in terms of their business. Second was to invite an external consultant to guide the college's work on anti-racist policies. After the December meeting, faculty meeting, I asked our Chief Diversity Officer, Anthony Brown, to canvass the possibilities for an external consultant. He interviewed a number of consultants and reported to me on that. I understand there is a scheduled meeting on February 26th between the leadership of the Anti-Racist Coalition and the leadership of the implementation team for racial justice to move this agenda item forward. So I'm glad we're coming together to try to move it forward. I also want to mention something about this month's Faculty Council resolution on the credit no credit policy. I have been asked to inform you that the CUNY Board of Trustees has decided that it is not extending a credit no credit policy in any form this semester across CUNY. And I understand from the Faculty Council resolution this semester that the lack of a dictate from the Board of Trustees will please this body. But the Faculty Council itself, this Faculty Council may wish to review our own local pass-fail policy. It's a little confusing, a little unclear if this body chooses to revise that policy with the eye toward applying a revised policy to grades this semester, then it has to get proposed changes to the CUNY Office of Academic Affairs by March 29th for then consideration by the committees of the Board of Trustees and then consideration by the full Board of Trustees on May 24th. So the deadline for any changes to pass-fail policy at Brooklyn College is March 29th. If you're going to take this up, I will help support that effort in any way you would find helpful. And I do plan to let the student government leadership know about this matter this week. I was simply awaiting the opportunity to discuss it with you. I want to give you an update on faculty mentors. If you didn't didn't catch the recent emailed announcement, I want to ensure that you're aware of new faculty mentors across the campus to support our junior faculty members. We establish 5 new faculty mentors, 1 for each school at the college. Their charge is to work with the deans, the chairs, and the faculty at each of the schools to mentor junior faculty members to achieve tenure and promotion through excellence in published research, scholarship, and creative activity or creative work, as well as teaching and service. In alphabetical order, they are Stephanie Jensen Moulton in the School of Visual Media and Performing Arts, Rosamund King in the School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Peter Lipke in the School of Natural and Behavioral Sciences, James Lynch in the Koppelman School of Business, Maria Sharon Del Rio in the School of Education. You all know that retaining and nurturing our diverse cadre of junior faculty members is a strategic goal of ours, and we hope that these new mentors will become a critical resource for our faculty and schools as they develop new structures of peer support. I want to touch base briefly on plans for fall reopening, and Alan may have additional remarks on that. CUNY has asked us to prepare for an in-person fall semester, but that call is not a mandate for operations to go back to the pre-pandemic mode. We are working carefully with chairs and deans to develop a flexible fall schedule at this time. It is a work literally in progress. There are many uncertainties we face, as you know, including the impact of new strains of the virus, vaccine availability, and what percentage of the population will have been vaccinated by late August, possible vaccine requirements for entry, how to treat those who refuse to be vaccinated or who refuse to wear a mask. These are all uncertainties. As we approach the fall semester itself, that is, as we go through the summer and approach fall, I want to assure you that safety and public health will drive our decision-making. For now, we're assessing the status of our operational structures to support reentry, our protocols for security, cleaning, facility maintenance, and personnel, the technical challenges we face regarding equipment and facilities for reentry, and finally, the likely multiplicity of modalities and classes that may have to evolve over time. The Brooklyn College Reentry Review Board that has been doing work since the beginning of the pandemic has faculty council representation on it. It has campus researchers on it. It has representation from the PSC, from staff in occupational health and safety, from facilities, and I sit on that board as well. And this board will analyze our campus reentry reopening plan to identify gaps and appropriate revisions as we prepare for the fall and as we come to new information. We will also convene a stakeholders dialogue this semester on our plan that will include student, staff, and faculty leadership to gather additional input on the campus reopening plan. I hope to hear from many of you, and we will announce those opportunities for stakeholder dialogue with you as we get to that stage in the process. Again, the health and safety of our campus and our community members will drive decision-making as we approach the fall, especially as protocols on social distancing and mask wearing evolve and the gatherings of people in small places or large places evolve. I want to share with you a couple of recent gifts in fundraising. The Mellon Foundation has committed $1 million in support of the Transfer Student Research Program. I want to congratulate the faculty members who made this happen, including Alan Aha, Jean Theo Harris, and Joseph Enton. This is a renewal and an expansion of Yeah, it's very good. I saw a couple of claps. This is a renewal and expansion of an earlier multi-year grant from the Mellon program, which creates new learning and research opportunities for transfer students in the humanities and social sciences. We've also received a new bequest of $866,000 for student scholarships from the estate of Alan Bashi, who is an alum from the class of 1962. We are pleased to report that the Robin Hood Foundation has made an additional grant of $150,000 in support of student emergency grants for immigrant students who need urgent assistance. This grant is in addition to the $150,000 already awarded for the same purpose last year, and it will be administered through ESO, the Immigrant Student Success Office. Finally, an alum, Florence Rosen, has made a $50,000 commitment towards student completion grants to those students who've run out of financial aid and are just 1 year away from graduating. Last thing I want to mention, because I've heard a lot about it lately, is Bursar Holds. Speaking of completion grants, Bursar Holds happen when a student still owes the college money from a prior semester. Colleges routinely stop the student from being able to register for the following semester for upcoming classes until they've squared away their accounts for the prior semester. And as you might imagine, the pandemic has led to a greater percentage of our students with Bursar Holds as they struggled to pay for college. So this spring, we lifted hundreds of Bursar Holds to allow students to enroll despite the money they owed to the college. But we also worried about students taking on debt that they would have trouble repaying. So we did more. We raised about $500,000 for grants to pay off students' debts that caused the Bursar Holds in the first place. So we not only lifted the holds, we paid off academic debt for hundreds of students so they could move forward in their education without that debt. We also expanded the completion grant program for the first time to graduate students, lifted some of their Bursar Holds, and paid off some of their debt. Finally, we invested thousands in not debt that students owed the college, but in scholarships for the spring semester for graduate students, for some graduate students who could not otherwise enroll this semester. And this is a new investment in our students' overall success. We're really pleased with the results of these efforts. I want to thank Alan and Todd. I also particularly want to thank Yasmin Ali and Patrick Kavanaugh for their mammoth efforts in this work. So at this time, I will call on Anne and Alan and Lillian and then open it up for questions. Anne?
Okay, thank you. Best wishes to all for the spring semester. Good to see you all here. I just want to report on a few things. One is some of the CARES funding. As you know, we received just under $1 million to provide teaching assistance and learning assistance for courses. We have 154 sections staffed currently and requests for them, 64 non-teaching adjuncts and 21 college assistants make up that, so graduate and undergraduate students respectively. We can handle some more to get closer to that over $900,000 amount. So if anyone is interested, please get in touch with Rich Vento. We're really excited about this program and how it can help faculty during this difficult time of teaching online so much. So that has moved forward. The AQ grant and faculty development, we're still getting reports about how good this has been for faculty who are dealing with high DFW rates in their courses and learning about teaching online and best practices as well for working with underrepresented minority students in their courses and changing those DFW rates to make their courses more relevant to them based on that work in AQ. Also, our NSF Advanced grant that's looking at disparities in faculty service and also mentoring and differences with regard to gender. That is moving forward full steam, and we're starting to get some interesting preliminary results. We've shared best practices around mentoring as well with the deans who've shared with their chairs, and hope to see all that trickle into departments with changes as well in our other mentoring practices aside from the school-wide work that the president has announced and done most recently. In addition, we just got as well another grant that works on entrepreneurship and innovation. and we will develop a center for entrepreneurship and innovation for students. And as you know, this is particularly important in the humanities, where students in the humanities do so much gig work and have to put themselves forward in that work. We're excited about this project, which will begin under Lucas Rubin in the fall. So that's all I wanted to report on today. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. Alan?
Okay, I'm unmuted. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. A couple of items. First, to follow up on what Michelle said about reentry. I started a discussion with Faculty Council's Campus Planning Committee on this very topic. And the members of the committee, chaired by Jennifer Ball, will be reaching out within their school to get feedback from the faculty in terms of what concerns the faculty may have, that we could incorporate that into our communications and to our plan. So, please, if you have concerns, you'll reach out to that group, the Faculty Council Committee, and we want to make sure we address everybody's needs. And if there's anything that we don't think about that the faculty have from their perspective, we certainly want to address that. This is very important to all of us. It's, we want to make sure everyone remains safe, as we did in March, when we had to leave campus. Safety was the primary concern throughout this process. Safety remains the utmost concern for all of us, and Michelle's been so supportive with that. Thankfully, everybody knows she's making sure that we're safe, and it's top priority. In terms of the two topics that the liaison committee asked me to speak about, the first thing I just want to give a very brief update on the facilities town hall that I did last month. You attended, and he asked me to mention some things. First thing, I want to talk about the cupola, and I'm going to just to the side. You could see, I don't know if the screen's kind of small, but you could see this is a picture that our communications team took of the cupola 2 weeks ago with a drone. I'm happy to report that as of a few days ago, all the scaffolding is down from the cupola. There's some minimal amount of work that needs to be done just to tidy up, which on any facilities project happens. And I know for everyone who's not been on campus, myself included, I'm looking forward to seeing it in all its glory. All the pictures are spectacular. And it just, to me, it inspires hope for the future. As our cupola is renovated, our lives in our world will be hopefully renovated as well in the coming months. So, I can't wait for us to have an official ceremony when we're all back on campus to celebrate, this miraculous, reformation and transformation of our cupola, which is certainly the highlight of the college. I was also asked to talk briefly about the stimulus money that we have. Michelle and I will be doing an in-depth budget review town hall on March 3rd. Invitations will be going out shortly, but I just and we'll talk about stimulus, CUNY budget, etc. But briefly, in terms of the stimulus money, the overall program, for stimulus money is called HERF, HEERF. That's the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund. And all the stimulus packages are under that rubric. So HERF 1 is the CARES Act. CARES is Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act. The student portion of that act is $8.8 million. The institutional portion is $8.8 million. All the student money has been distributed to our students, goes through the university financial aid process. The institutional portion, we're still working on. We received guidelines from the university. The money is very restrictive. We just filed our first report with the federal government. Everything we expended through December 31st. We've expended, that report is over $1.8 million that we've put in so far. But I just wanted to point out the college thus far has received $0 from CARES. The students received their money. The college has not received any money from CARES at this point. For CARES at this point, this is a drawdown process. So you have to submit your expenses, and then the federal government draws it down to the university, and the university will then send money to us. We have an additional $3.5 million that we've encumbered on important projects. We reached out to the whole campus community about the opportunities in my town halls and in other meetings. Anne mentioned the largest project we have, which is the it's with fringe benefits, it's over $1 million for teaching assistants and learning assistants, and some of the other programs we're doing with English and art. This was great and something we think really going to help our students. We put in for connection coaches through enrollment management to help outreach for advisement. We will be sending money to all students, eligible students that took winter 2021 courses. Will be receiving money to help them with their expenses that they incur during that period of time. We're hiring a few part-time environmental health and safety ambassadors to help as we have more people on campus this spring with more hybrid classes. They will be walking around making sure all our policies are being adhered to. And lastly, of course, the usual stuff we've spoken about. We're buying PPE, we're buying facility supplies for our custodians, we're spending money on technology, et cetera. So we're going to continue to move forward in that. As many of you may know, the second HERF stimulus package was approved on December 27th. It's called CRRSA, CRRSAA, Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act. Student portion on that matches from the first CARES Act, over $8.8 million. The institutional portion is over $22 million. We've been told this is less restrictive than CARES for HERF1, but at this point, the operational guidelines have not been fully issued. We have general information, but with the change of administrations from the Trump administration to the Biden administration, there's a lot of operational work that needs to be done. I spend much of Friday in a webinar from NACUBO, which is the National Association of College and University Business Officers, where they spoke about all the questions that everybody has. There's thousands of people there. As we get more guidelines from the Department of Education and NACUBO and from CUNY, we'll be able to move forward on that implementation as well. Let's see. I think that covers everything we have at this point. At the town hall, we are going to be providing a lot more information on all of this. So again, if there's any questions, let me know.
So maybe a quick update from Lillian and then turn to questions.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Just a quick update on spring enrollment. The CUNY senior colleges were down 0.9% overall. That's just the senior colleges. At Brooklyn College, we are down for the spring 3.8%. We are down 2.6% in undergraduate enrollment. And this is largely due to a decline in new transfer students, as we expected, because the community college enrollments have been decreasing. The good news is that continuing undergraduate student enrollment is stable, so retention is good, which we're very happy about. Graduate enrollment, unfortunately, is down 10%. And this consists of a combination of new and continuing students. And several factors have played into this, primarily the large decline in international student enrollment and the discontinuance of some cohort programs. For fall, we're focusing on maximizing freshman enrollment due to the continuing decline, as we expect, in transfer enrollment. And we are working heavily to promote graduate programs to increase enrollments in those programs. And we're also working to really try to regain some of the international student population as hopefully, the pandemic situation gets a bit better. Thank you, everyone.
Are there any questions for the president? I'm going to, do you want to choose? Should I answer? I'll call upon people. Okay, James Davis? You have your hand up?
Yep, just trying to get unmuted. Thank you, and thanks for the presentations, everyone. I want to first of all thank everyone who was involved in keeping the campus safe and making safety a priority. It is really difficult to make safety drive all the decision making. So everything that Carrie is doing and her committee and Alan, I know everybody in administration and the Reentry Planning Committee is working really hard on safety. So thank you for that. And I also know I had heard, and I was really glad to hear it again here, how much money was raised to help pay off the academic debt that students had incurred. Michelle, that's really amazing. That's an incredible amount of money, and it's an amazing thing to do for the students. I wanted to ask a question. I realized at this point, Alan, you had said that a lot of the operational guidance on the CRISA money is still unclear, and it may not be fully clarified even by the time of the town hall that you were discussing in early March. And so I guess a question that I have is really about the format of that town hall, because I've attended a number of Alan's presentations about the budget, and like many of us who have attended those, they are illuminating and warm, and they make you feel good about being at Brooklyn College, and enlightening. And yet also, Michelle, I think it's really important for you to hear from the college community about what people have gone through. And so I wondered if you are planning to, I'm concerned about the notion of presenting information. And I think that there should really be a dialogue as an opportunity in that town hall. And I wonder if you could speak about your thinking on that at this point.
Sure. Alan, if it's a webinar, is there a Q&A opportunity?
Yes, in all my town halls, we always have Q&A. At least 1/3 of the time is to Q&A. I usually do an hour or so speaking, usually less, and then I do Q&A at the end. And we always go past half an hour. I don't run out the door. The only reason we're gonna do a webinar instead of a town hall, because Zoom only covers up to 300 people, and if we do more than 300 people, others will be locked out. So we plan to do a webinar. It'll be a similar type format. There'll be a presentation. I'm probably going to do the presentation part, and then Michelle and I are going to do the Q&A. The reason why I do the presentation just because I know the details, intimately in many cases, and it's just easier in terms of the technical part to do that. But in terms of the Q&A, it'll be Michelle and I, and Michelle will take the lead in terms of questions, and then refer to me on things that are a little more technical.
One thing I just wanted to also mention, thanks, Alan, is this presentation will likely be shorter than the ones that Alan routinely gives, because Alan routinely covers at his monthly meetings, his monthly town halls. He routinely covers facility, the whole dossier that he works on, facilities, budget, and the whole bit. This is one that's devoted toward the budget. And people have asked for one that is focused on budget. And so that's what we want to do. So I'm hoping that there will be more time for Q&A, James.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ken Esty?
Yes, thank you. I think the issue of isolation and the issue of being separated from each other, in this time, has, devastating effects on morale and, the ability of all of us really to conduct our work as well as we wish to conduct that work. And so it seems that, in this, and this is, I think, a question, are we calling it a town hall, a webinar, a meeting, a community meeting, that the ability of the participants to have a, vigorous and open and, full discussion, I think is going to be really important for everybody to, manage the isolation and manage the morale issues that we're all facing. And so, I would just want to advocate that we do everything possible to foster that kind of communication and that meeting that we have in March, because this is already a tough winter, and it's doesn't seem like it's going to get any easier. And so we certainly wouldn't want to have a meeting in March that would only exacerbate the existing, issues that we're all facing as a community.
Appreciate that.
Okay, Professor Shortell?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to suggest, I understand the sort of technical limit of the size, but I want to echo, having attended a number of events in these pandemic conditions, there's just a huge difference in the way that these meetings feel. The webinar is a presentation mode, it's not a discussion mode, whereas a meeting, like the meeting that we're currently having, where we can see each other and it just feels to me to foster, a sort of conversation rather than presentation. So, if the problem is we can't put more than 300 people in a meeting, that I want to contribute to increasing Alan's workload, but it seems to me multiple meetings of 300 would probably tap the demand if that's the case.
Okay, Professor Bankmanoz? Carolina?
Hi, everybody. Thanks. Thanks for the presentations. So I just also wanted to echo the kind of open format. I think that for all the reasons that my colleagues expressed, but also the budget is a political process, right? There are the technical aspects of the budget, but there are the political aspects of the budget. And I think that's really where the importance of discussion and conversation come to bear the most, right? Because it's not just about what's happening in the budget, but what we're going to do about it. So I think a webinar doesn't really capture like the opportunity for that kind of dialogue and debate. And I think there are definitely ways of increasing the Zoom capacity of meetings. Even you don't even have to do it monthly. Like you can set up a Zoom, a one-time only for 1,500 people or things like that. So I definitely think that there are ways of like expanding the capacity to allow for a more open dialogue.
So I definitely want to acknowledge what I'm hearing. I see Alan put in the chat that he's never done a webinar with, and I am not super familiar with how visually it is different, but we'll definitely look into it. It sounds like for those of you who have done it, it seems like it's really different to you in terms of accessibility and engagement. And I hear you, engagement, okay? We'll look into it.
Okay, Professor Saxena?
So hi, thank you for your great presentation. I was a little curious about the CRISA money. Is it can be directed towards the faculty research laboratory to bring the students back on the campus for doing the research? And it looks like it's a very tedious process to get the actual money back. So do you have any tips in terms of what to spend and what to receive and in what way we should go all about it during that whole process unfolds? Thank you.
Good questions. It is extremely tedious. After I spoke, I realized I didn't thank Michael Lancer and his team. This is like a full-time job, and Michael's been amazing. And CUNY I was told by CUNY, they love how we present information. They don't have to come back and ask a lot because we're so thorough. So it is very tedious. Ideally, the bigger ticket items we spend the money on, the better, because it's easier to track a $60,000 items than 200 items that add up to $60,000. We just had our first audit. This money is audited, and we had to pull a sample. We got notification, pull this transaction, and we found it right away, and looked great. We had all the backup already there. We had 24 hours to submit. So ideally, bigger things are better, but if we're looking at $22 million on top of $8 million, there's we can't do capital projects on this. That's separate. The things we need to do are not the $1 million items. I'm not sure what we could do for research labs in terms of the process. I think CRISA is more flexible. I think the key is for people to send their ideas, to work with their chairs, work with their deans, work with the provost for the on the academic side, and start putting together ideas of what we'd like to do, to enable student success, especially with the challenges associated with, this global pandemic. I run everything through the university just to get their opinion, because we do not want any disallowances. Disallowances mean we lose money, and we have to come up, since we already spent it, we have to come up with ways to pay for it. But I think the more input we get, the better in this, because it's a lot of money, and the expectation is that HERF 3, which is being worked on now in the federal government, will give us even more money. We also want, I want to add that, for the stimulus packages, it's also important that the state and local governments get money, because they did not get in CRISA, and the state and local governments getting money means New York will have more money, which could improve our base allocation, from the state, which is certainly as critical. That could be reoccurring money in some cases, or other money. So I think it's important that we balance that out. But the more ideas we have, the better, and not spending things for $10, $15 certainly makes life a lot easier.
Okay, Professor Hashmi, Mobina.
Hi, thank you so much for the information. I just had a quick question and a request. Is if I hear you correctly, Alan, that sort of we spent about like what, 5 million of the CARES institutional
We
money?
spent 1.8 through December 31st. We spent 1.8. We have encumbered, so we already designated projects that we started. There will be another 3.5.
And let me just to understand, some of the CARES money has been taken by Central to do university-wide work, right? So some portion of the 8.8 or whatever we were allocated, that approximately that we were allocated, some portion of that is not ours to spend.
Right. We report it out, and then the university will take their portion.
That was just my question, is like, do we have any unspent or unallocated CARES Act money? And the other question I had was, or request I had was, there's so many numbers, there's so much data. You just said you filed a sort of the first report on how that money was spent. It would be really, really, really helpful if you could share that data or some of those reports beforehand, so we can try and understand some of the things that you know so well because you're steeped in it. But for the rest of us, we need a little bit of time to absorb that information. And it would be incredibly helpful to have that beforehand, so we can just sort of think about and understand how what you're doing and see where you're coming from, so we can engage in a more productive manner. So that was a request. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we actually are working on that. Now that we have the 1.8 is a solid number, Mike Galanzer and I are working on putting that document together. And there'll be a PowerPoint, so we're going to have the PowerPoint as well.
Okay, Professor Shortell.
Sorry for jumping in the queue twice. I wanted to ask a question. We've heard a little bit about the potential for perhaps new federal money. I wanted to ask Michelle if you could tell us what, if anything, the university is doing with regard to the state budget.
In terms of getting additional allocations from the state. So my understanding of where we are in that process is that the university has just submitted to the Board of Trustees, and the Board of Trustees has just passed a budget for the following year. And I think that is what I do know is that the Board of Trustees has, and the state have lifted the 20% hold back on the money for this year, this academic year, and they have imposed a 5% cut. We don't, it's not super clear what the 5% baseline is, what it refers to. That is still to be cleared up. We're very much in a time of flux still, Tim, without a lot of concrete understanding of what our budget looks like for the rest of this. Alan, we have not been given numbers about our budget for this year. So we are still in the kind of month-to-month piece, Tim.
Okay, Professor Florence, I want to question everyone. The questions are excellent. I don't want to cut anyone off, but time is running and we have a very long agenda still to go. Professor Florence.
Thank you. My focus is on more targeted funds. At least we have some control over that. The provost, you were talking about research assistants, and you said there's still opportunity. Is it opportunity for potential research assistant to apply, or professors as well to apply for a teaching assistant?
Both.
Both. How is the limit, time with regard to time?
No, I mean, this will happen now. They end by, all of this CARES funding ends by the middle of May. So it's spending that has to happen. It has to go through through a process. So it's not so easy to get people hired either. But there is funding available.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, Melinda, please lower your hand so we don't see it. Professor Wills?
Oh, thank you very much for all this information. My question is a little bit to the side of the other ones, but legislation has just been recently introduced for the New Deal for CUNY, and I'm wondering why CUNY management has been silent on this really important initiative, and wondering also what we might be doing to get behind the legislators who are advocating on behalf of CUNY. Thanks.
So I want to say that I'm grateful. I think we are all grateful for anyone who wants to work hard to get more revenue for CUNY. We need more resources. We certainly support all efforts to enhance those resources. So I want to thank the activists, the faculty, the elected officials working to advance those ends. I want to share with you, rest assured, I am working hard to enhance our funding at the borough level, at the city level, and at the state levels, lobbying behind the scenes where I am most effective on behalf of the college. I can't speak for what's happening in terms of CUNY Central, but I want you to know that I'm working very hard, lobbying very hard on supporting efforts to enhance our funding.
Thank you very much, President Anderson and team, for a very informative report. And thank you, everyone, for your questions. We're going to move on now to the Committee on Committees. Professor Levy.
Hello, everyone. First, I'd like to thank, as usual, the amazing work that the chairs and members of the committees do for the Faculty Council committees on behalf of the students, the departments and programs, and the whole college. Without you, the work could not be done. Given that, we have a new slate to put together for next year, and you should all have gotten emails about which committees you might be willing to serve on. I encourage you to fill it out if you haven't, and encourage your colleagues to do so. The deadline is Friday. If you have any questions, you can refer to any members of the committee. We're happy to answer them. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I think that Yadidja is no longer on this call, and I think we have to go to the next item on the agenda, which unfortunately I don't have right in front of me. So, Sharona, do you happen to have it in front of you, the agenda?
It looks like it's degree lists.
Degree lists.
All right, terrific. Bear with me for 1 second, and I will try to pull up the language of the resolution. I believe Yadidja may be back at this point. Hang on 1 second.
I think we missed the number 7, which is the University Faculty Senate.
Okay, 1 minute. Do you hear me now? Are we back on? Okay, because we were frozen. So
Oops.
I'm sorry. I don't know if you heard me. Who was talking last? Professor Lee?
Oops. He's. He's re.
Okay, I don't actually have the language for the degree requirements resolution, but can we go to the update from the University Faculty Senate now? Doug, are you here?
There's no report. There hasn't been a meeting since our last faculty council meeting.
Martha, I have the cover sheet if you need.
Okay, yes, I would. That would be.
Someone could give me share screen.
Sure. Andre, can you enable Sharona to share the screen, please?
I'm sorry, who needs to share the screen?
Sharona Levy.
Just a moment.
I can raise. Oh.
Okay, Professor Levy, you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. Here we go. Can
Okay.
see that?
Thanks, Sharona. So the degree lists are in their usual place on Blackboard. And so we should, if you have looked at them, that's great. But we can, if there are no objections to them, we can do this resolution. Does anybody want to say anything about any of the possible degree recipients? No. Okay. So I will read this and then we can vote. The registrar certifies that all students on this list have met all the requirements for graduation and were eligible for their respective degrees as of the dates indicated. Resolved that the Faculty Council of Brooklyn College recommend that the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York grant to the students named below the degrees indicated. And we do need a poll for this. So, Andre, can we do that? We need a yes, a no, and an abstention. Okay, hang on 1 second. Andre, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, can we do a poll with a yes,
Okay,
a no, and
I can do it. Okay, hello, I'm back.
great, thank you. Great.
I
Glad to
lost
hand it back.
all Wi-Fi access here in the house. I'm back. I apologize. I don't know what Verizon's doing to me. Let me go back here. Wait a minute. You have to unshare yourself. Whoever put it up. Okay, I'm sorry. I assume you've already gone through the agenda item list 21-7, 21-8. In which case, I'm going to put up the poll for that. Okay, degree lists. And I'm launching the poll. People are still voting. Okay, everyone voted 80. Okay, And as you can see, it was approved, 87 approved, 1 abstain, and no disapprove. Okay, so that's done. Let's move on now. The next item on the agenda is Professor Shortell, Committee on Undergraduate Curriculum and Degree Requirements. And Professor Shortell has an updated document 410. And Professor Shortell, you want me to put that one up, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, give me a second here. And this is
Thank you. If you, if you could scroll to the new course proposal for Business 3425, I'll call everybody's attention to the change. And let me just say, I'm so happy to have you back in the meeting. I had a small panic attack when you dropped out. I don't know what we would do without you at these meetings. So thank goodness you're back. Oh, maybe we lost you, did you again? Okay, let me call your attention to the one change if we can't get it projected. The business department submitted a new course proposal, business communication and data visualization. We worked out an agreement with between the business department and communication, arts, sciences, and disorders with respect to the bulletin description to sort of clarify. And so that course description has changed to sort of make it clear that it's a business analytics course and not a communications course. And that's the only change in the document. So we have some changes in degree programs, we have some new courses, and we have some changes in existing courses. And I am open to any questions. David.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Just a quick question, which is I didn't see any syllabi associated with the new courses. Did that just get left, or at least not in the draft that I saw of it? I don't know, is that in the newer draft or?
Yeah, when I prepare the curriculum document, I just include the top part. The committee gets the full proposal when we consider it. So the committee has seen and evaluated the full.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a question about a particular course, I can try to answer it, but.
No, I'm just used to, like, I noticed in the graduate list that it came with the syllabi and the undergraduate didn't. So I just was wondering about that. But.
Yeah, I guess I have stopped including that material in because the undergraduate documents sometimes, have been quite large. And so just to save space in terms of what's being presented to council.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Okay, I'm not sure if we can, how we can affect the vote if Yadidja has dropped out again, but I want to mention one other, oh, maybe Yadidja's back. Let me mention one other thing while we get that straight. I want to thank the provost for working with the committee to sort of simplify the deadlines. I realized that the information that was on our Blackboard site was confusing about what the deadlines are for different kinds of things in terms of getting them into the next bulletin. So we worked with Anne to sort of clarify that, and moving forward now, this meeting, the February meeting, will be the final deadline for all curriculum actions to take effect for the following bulletin year. So that, I think, will clarify everything that gets submitted before the February meeting. including the February meeting, would be included and able to take effect for the following bulletin year. That would be the next fall. Okay, so we can still do things afterwards, but then those wouldn't take effect until the bulletin year that followed. The only exception to that is special topics proposals, because those don't require a faculty council vote. The committee approves those directly, and so the committee will entertain special topics proposals throughout the academic year. Thank you, you did it.
Okay, I'm sorry I disappeared again. There's something wrong here, but I put up the poll for your document, so I assume that everyone is voting on document 410 now, and I assume you all saw what it was that I was trying to show you, but I disappeared. Okay. I'm going to end the polling on document 410, share the results. The document passes. 79 voted in favor, 2 abstained.
Thank you.
Okay. We now move to, this is embarrassing. Science shouldn't have the thing drop.
There's a couple of questions.
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask Tim really quickly, does that February deadline count for this year? So what we just voted on will go into next year's bulletin? Yes? Oh, that's excellent news. Thank you so much.
I see Professor Brodsky has a question as well.
Yeah, sorry to bother you, Tim, twice in a row. But so you mean that if we get stuff in now for the March meeting, it won't go in? We missed it?
That's correct. Yeah, the deadlines had made the Blackboard site had announced earlier deadlines. So this is good that we were able to get it pushed back to February. But there is a lot of people may not be aware the amount of work that happens after we vote on a document to get it enacted. And so Leah had indicated that if we got anything that we submitted for February, she would have time, and Jeffrey Glass would have time to get it implemented into the system. So that's why we can't push it back any further.
Okay. Okay. Professor Miel.
Hi. Yeah. Quick question. I'm sorry. I think I know I misunderstood that. I have curriculum documents required for state registration to be effective in September that we voted on today. I'm wondering what you recommend. I'm not sure the other School of Ed programs have submitted their changes yet either.
Okay, well, maybe we can have a conversation about it. It would depend on, the provost approving those late submissions and again, Leah and her team being able to implement them. But certainly under conditions like that, I imagine we would try.
Would be nice, because otherwise we'll lose registration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Rotman.
I see the provost had her hand up.
I don't see a hand, but okay, Provost, go ahead.
Thank you. So I just wanted to say that there are curricular issues within our purview, and there are other curricular issues outside our purview that need to be approved by the state of New York. For example, new programs and other kinds of things. Those will not be enacted, right, until they are approved. But anything that is within, so a new course, some amendments to programs, those kinds of things can be enacted. So it's where we have immediate control that this deadline is in effect. New programs that's not a place where we have immediate control. Those have to be approved by the state of New York. So we want to be very clear on that for what you anticipate.
Okay, thank you. Professor Rodman, curriculum document 261 graduate.
Professor Rodman isn't here today, but I'm taking his place. I'm John Paul. I'm also on the graduate curriculum committee.
Would you like me to share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I hope I don't get lost this time. We'll try it again. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so there were, if you can scroll down, well, there were only 3 changes. There was one change in degree program, one new course, and change in existing course. was the MS degree program in business administration, was a change in degree program, and then there were 2 new courses in relation to that. And then there was some changes in 3 existing courses in the history department. And the syllabi are attached.
Are there any questions for Professor Paul? Hearing no questions, I will launch the poll for the graduate curriculum document. Please vote.
I have a question.
You have a question, Professor Klein.
Yes, as I indicated to you, I am concerned that the change in program deletes 2 courses in economics from the program without asking us for clearance. I request that those 2 deletions be removed.
Professor Paul, do you want to comment on that?
So you're asking that the 2 courses that are proposed to be deleted remain where they remain. In other words, you don't want them to be deleted. Okay, I agree with that.
Well, wait. You can't agree.
I'm sorry.
With that.
I'm sorry. I don't know the procedure. I was just told to send it in, so sorry.
Either you can, either your committee has to do it, or the choice is to make an amendment. Professor Klein can make an amendment. We can vote on the amendment, or you can send it back to committee. We can't just do it.
I propose an amendment that the deletions of economics 70, that's economics 7020X and 7021X be restored.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, now does the chair of which program? I'm sorry, which program is it?
The business department, the MS in business administration.
Okay, does the chair of the business department wish to respond? Give you first choice. I don't even hear.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm suffering a little under the weather. But I'm here.
So do you wish to address that? Do you want to accept it?
I have a problem. I think that we have to go back and talk to the other people in the department. You know, we don't have a problem with people. You know, I mean, I understand why Yehuda is saying what he's saying. I mean, I would say the same thing potentially, but I think that, you know, a department has to have the right to define what courses are needed in their curriculum. I mean, I don't, you know, so I would want to go back to my department and discuss that before we just agree to that unilaterally on my own.
Okay.
You agree to pull it.
I couldn't, what you said, Yehuda?
You're agreeing to pull the documents and bring it back, but you're going to consult with me this time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think there's nothing wrong. You know, as he knows, our curriculum chair is outstanding, and I think that I didn't know that this wasn't discussed prior to this moment.
Professor Lynch, you are agreeing to pull the entire program from this document. That's a lot different than making a change to what the original motion was. So if you agree to pull it, then it's fine.
May I suggest one thing? I'm also in the
Yeah.
graduate committee. If that happens, that means these
No.
be put it in the bulletin.
Yeah, I don't want to pull the entire document. I don't want to agree to the amendment. That's a no.
There's going to be a vote on the amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're any more discussion on Professor Klein's amendment to put those 2 courses back in? Is that what your amendment is?
Yes. Can I just speak to that for a moment? You know, if it remains in the curriculum document, I'm certainly willing to meet with business management and discuss how to go forward. But it should be a discussion. It should not be changes to the program that affect my department should not be made without asking our department for clearance.
Okay, Professor Shortell.
Yeah, this is a good illustration of the problems that arise when we try to do these things from the floor, and so we want to try to encourage everybody to have these discussions earlier. But I also want to again remind you, when we act in this body on the curriculum, we're acting on behalf of our responsibility as faculty to the curriculum, as a whole. And so I just want to discourage us from thinking about departments having a veto over curriculum actions in other departments. I don't think that that's a good way for us to operate. Whatever the merits of this particular program are in these particular courses, we're acting together as a faculty to make these decisions, and we shouldn't always be thinking about it in terms of, my department wasn't consulted on this. It's a shared responsibility. And so again, I'm all for having those conversations before, but I hate to see, folks holding up curriculum documents on the floor because they feel like they needed a conversation to happen prior to that.
Okay, Professor Tinkleman.
I see that Professor Lynch has his hand up, and I'm going to be, I think, setting the stage for him. But if we're going to be voting on whether this proposal should go forward, I would appreciate hearing from him what is the educational rationale for this change. And if we were to delay it, that would mean it likely would not make it into next year's bulletin. So something about why this is or is not a worthwhile change would be helpful to me in deciding how to vote. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And I think that, in fact, Miles put one point in there, the graduate degree is a business administration. And what we're trying to develop in the department is courses that are reflective of the needs of the people who are taking them. We're trying to streamline it without adding extra courses and to cause additional costs to the students who are enrolled in our programs. I don't understand. I mean, the basic point that Tim was alluding to, I don't understand, there's no inherent benefit to allow other departments to add on to other curriculum that we feel is in the best interest of students. I don't, if we decide that we have to change the curriculum to best meet the demands and the educational objectives of who the people in our program, I think that's best handled internally in the department. That's my basic point. I don't, I understand why people may not want individual courses to be dropped, or why people may want to not use certain language, but we shouldn't be using that as a bludgeon to stop changes in the curriculum or to act as a veto on curriculum development and pedagogical change.
I'd like to respond to that, Professor.
Wait. Professor Klein, wait. Professor Tinkleman, your hand is still up. Is that from before? So lower your hand, please. Professor Lynch, are you finished?
Yes, I'm finished. She can respond.
Okay, Professor Klein, please respond.
If you look at the larger document for the graduate program in business administration, economics is part of that program, and we should be fully consulted on changes that affect our department. And we believe that, especially in data analytics, we have the technical skills and the courses that can contribute to that program, and we should be part of that discussion. And I find it of concern that we were not part of that discussion. It is not just strictly a program that's confined to one department. It is a program that affects the entire Koppelman School of Business, and there should not be the presumption that one department can make decisions that affect all four departments. That's all I have to say.
Is there any more discussion on the amendment only? That is, the amendment is to restore the two classes to the document. We are not voting on the entire document now, just on Professor Klein's. So I'm going to put up, if there's no more discussion, Professor Tinkleman, you have your hand up again? Okay. Lower your hand. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to put up a poll. Again, this poll is on the amendment only. Vote yes to restore the two classes, no, not to restore the classes, and abstain. Obvious what that means. Anyone else not vote yet? Remember, only faculty council members of the faculty can vote for this. Going once, going twice. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. Okay, I'll share the results. This is a close race. Okay, 33 said yes to restore, 22 say no, and 35 abstain. Okay, now this requires an interesting parliamentary ruling. Okay, because this is not a final action, the final action will be the document itself. We do not need a majority of the whole. We just need a simple majority. And a simple majority, 33 to 22, the abstains don't count here, voted to restore the two classes. Okay, to restore the two classes. So now, without further discussion, we will now move to vote on the amendment, on the document itself. Okay, now I know we voted before, but I'm going to throw that one out because it was interrupted. So this is now on the entire document. Yes to approve document 261 with the two classes as originally submitted. No, and abstain. Of course, I want to tell Professor Lynch, you can certainly resubmit this later on to pull the classes out should your department decide to go through again. But unfortunately, we have to go through the procedure as we have it. So I'm going to, Professor Saxena, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure what are the two courses, just to be on the same page. I know I can see through the document, but I just want to make a note of it here.
Could someone who knows what the document is?
Klein. Professor Klein, you said the numbers before.
The two courses are Economics 7020X and Economics 7021X. They have been restored.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. I hope whoever's taking minutes here knows what's going on. Okay, we are now going to vote on the entire document. Voting faculty members only. The votes are still coming in. Anyone else? Okay, I need Martha. Martha, how many members of faculty council are voting members now? Where are you?
I'm right here. Hang on one second, okay?
It's close. Okay, the numbers just moved up, so I don't need your answer. I know the answer now. Okay, so I'm going to end polling. Okay, we do have 70 now voting yes, 6 voting no, and 13 abstentions. 70 is more than half of the voting members of faculty council, and therefore it is a majority as required by law. And so the document passes now with those two classes in them. Okay, is that clear? Okay, we now, these meetings are getting more and more interesting. I lose Wi-Fi. You guys have tough decisions here. Okay, we now have a joint resolution by Professor Shortell and Rodman. I guess Professor Rodman's not doing this. It's from both committees. Resolution on governance of the curriculum. I want to bring that up so that we all know what we're voting on. Give me a second. And I'm now going to share the screen, and I hope I don't lose Wi-Fi now. So first of all, let me, I didn't share the results from the last one, did I? Okay, there it is. Okay, 70 yes, 6 no, and 13 abstain. Okay, stop share results, put this away. And now let me share my screen. I'm sorry, I'm talking to myself, but it's the only way it works. Okay, I hope you can see this. Professor Chotel, would you like to introduce this resolution?
Yes, thank you. I think the resolution speaks for itself, but you can see the resolved there that Faculty Council of Brooklyn College reminds the administration of the college and the university that responsibility for the curriculum, including the awarding of credit and granting of degrees, rests with the faculty.
Are there any questions for Professor Chotel or for whomever?
I have a question.
Okay, Professor Cox.
My question is the motivation behind the, I'm sorry if I cut.
Esty, you didn't raise your hand, did you? Professor Cox, I
just have a very quick question related to the previous topic because I'm very confused about everything that just went on. We have a major, for example, health informatics, that is totally our department. Health and nutrition sciences didn't want to make it a joint.
Professor Esty, with all due respect, that's out of order right now. Okay, we are at a different amendment now. Let's talk about that under new business. You can bring it up. Okay, I don't want to get too confused. I'm already confused.
Fair enough.
Professor Cox, you have your hand up. Do you have something you want to discuss on this resolution?
No, I'm going to put my hand down.
Okay. Are there any more questions on the resolution that reads, therefore be it resolved that the Faculty Council of Brooklyn College reminds the administration of Brooklyn College and CUNY that the responsibility for the curriculum, awarding of college credit, and granting degrees rests with the faculty. This will go out. Our administration is obviously here, but it'll also obviously go out to CUNY Central. Okay? Is there any further discussion on this?
Yeah, Professor Esty had his hand up. You were, I think, confusing Professor Esty and Professor Cox in the previous comment.
No, I wasn't. Professor Esty was going to talk about something else, but now he has his hand up. You want to talk about this resolution, Professor Esty?
Yeah, that's all I ever wanted to talk about. I wasn't addressing the other matter, but and sorry, I did cut in line. I didn't understand. Okay. The question is simply this, just interested in the motivation or backstory for the resolution. It's very intriguing and just curious what motivated the resolution.
Can I speak to that? Professor Chotel, I'm sure you'll be glad to speak to it, but I think the motivation is clear. We want to tell CUNY to keep their hands off our curriculum in all matters relating to curriculum, that it is up to us and not to them. A la before Pathways came around and they sort of messed us all up against our core. This one, we want to reassert that it is the faculty of Brooklyn College, okay, that is responsible for curriculum and not CUNY Central. Professor Chotel, am I correct in?
You are correct, and all I would add to that is I think in this particular case, the issue of credit, no credit speaks directly to our governance responsibility. The faculty award credit and requirements for the degree. So, anticipating that it might be an issue again this semester, as Michelle told us in her presentation, apparently the university has already decided not to extend the credit, no credit policy university-wide in this semester. But I would suggest, and I think it's consistent with the sentiment in this resolution, our position as representatives of the faculty of Brooklyn College is that with respect to the awarding of credit at Brooklyn College, that is our decision to make, and that we may very well have a debate this semester about that policy at Brooklyn College for this semester. So that's all in the background of this particular resolution.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, questions about this resolution? Okay, I will launch polling on the resolution. Please vote.
We have another question there, Yudija.
Professor Tomkiewicz. You're muted.
Sorry for that. Okay.
In most cases, very difficult to differentiate the curriculum part from the budget part. In many cases, they are connected. In case of the credit, non-credit, it's one of the few that is not directly connected. So if the resolution would have been specific to the credit, no credit, I would have no problem. If a resolution is general, I do have a problem because it's actually involve budgetary decision.
Thank you, Professor Tomkiewicz. The voting is going on. I didn't stop the voting, but if anyone else wants to make comments right now, please raise your hand. I see no further raised hands. Please continue to vote, everybody. Please continue. The votes are coming in. Anyone else voting? Okay, it looks like it has stopped. I will share the results. The motion passes. 81 approve, 3 disapprove, and 3 abstain. Thank you very much. Okay, we now move to Committee on Honorary Degrees. Professor Waldo. Okay, then if Professor Waldo is not here, I will simply stand in. This is simply for information purposes that the president has nominated for honorary degree at commencement 2021, Fatima Ghost Graves, President and CEO of the National Women's Law Center. This does not require any action of faculty council. This is simply an information, and the president is going to submit the candidacy to CUNY for approval for the 2021 commencement. Any questions on that? Okay. I see no questions. That concludes the business. Do we have any old business? Hearing none, do we have new business? Someone submitted to me a resolution. Are they withdrawing it, or are they going to make it now? I assume it is no longer relevant. Okay, now before we adjourn, again, let me apologize for totally losing Wi-Fi here. I don't know what happened. The whole house lost Wi-Fi twice. I don't know how I can fix that, but it is what it is. Also, I did not have a chance during the vote on the degree lists to thank the Office of the Registrar, who made it possible for the committee to actually approve and review all the graduate degrees themselves remotely. In the past, you remember the executive committee, the steering committee had to take that action because they had no way of reviewing it. But the registrar quickly put in a scheme for them to be able to access all the transcripts and review it as they're supposed to. And I thank the registrar for that, and thank you for voting in the affirmative to grant all the degrees. Okay, is there any other new business? Now, someone asked me, Professor Cox, you have your hand up?
Yes. Just very, very quickly. So if a department has a major that involves a course from another department, and it's not a joint major in any way, and that department decides to remove that course from the other department as a requirement, does that mean they have to get clearance from the other department for said removal? For example, if in health informatics I wish to remove the requirement of epidemiology, I have to get clearance from health informatics. I'm very confused about what happened before.
I too am slightly confused, not very, but slightly confused. Technically, according, I understand the requirements is that clearance is required only for the introduction of new courses that may impinge on another department. A department that does not share a degree okay, such as the example you just gave up, not have to ask for clearance. So the business department was totally within their rights not to ask for clearance from economics. However, any department can bring up anything about any curriculum at Faculty Council, because as Professor Shortell points out, once the curriculum is submitted to Faculty Council, it belongs to Faculty Council as a whole and no longer to the department. And so both Professor Shortell is correct, and Professor Lynch is correct, and Professor Klein was correct. In other words, everybody was correct. Okay? They did not need to ask for clearance. Okay, so the graduate curriculum committee was completely in their right to take a degree of the business department to bring it forward to us. At any one of you, anybody, not only Professor Klein, but anybody could bring up anything about any item that's in that curriculum document. And we voted on it. And we voted how you decided. And then we voted on the entire document. And now it becomes a Brooklyn College degree requirement, not simply a individual department degree. Does that clarify, Professor Cox? That's the way I see the rules of the road here. Okay? And I think Ken Esty was also asking about that. I believe when I got confused, no, then I got totally confused with what you were asking. So drop it. Does anyone have any? Oh, I have a lot of questions here. Now it's the action starting. Okay. Professor Hangzhen Lin, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, it's about the history of that program, because that program started by, initiated by the Department of Economics. And then the department split and become the School of Business. So I think that the chair of the economics and also the economic professor think it started by them, so they have a voice. Okay.
Well, I understand, I know the history, but at this point, legalistically, it is completely under the control of the business department. It is no longer in the economics department. So I still maintain that the correct procedure, but you were correct. You certainly had your rights with Professor Klein to object to anything. You can even object to things that CIS does. I hope you won't, but you can once it comes to the floor of council. Okay, so the history is understood. At once upon a time, there was one department. It split. Now it belongs legally to the business department. Professor Miel. Eleanor?
Yeah, I had to unmute. I'm sorry. I just wanted to point out that I think the vote may have gone differently if we'd had this clarifying discussion before the vote.
I wasn't asked. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
that's all.
Everyone who wanted to say the history could have brought it up then. You know, this is parliamentary procedure. We can't go back. Okay.
Well, I'm not talking about the history. I'm talking about the points of the parliamentary points that I think some of us were unclear on, the as of rights issues.
Sorry, no one asked me before. I would have made my speech before. Professor Shortell actually did make the speech. Professor Shortell made it for me. He was very clear that curriculum, once it comes to the floor of council, belongs to council, to not individual departments anymore. And again, the flip side of that is that any department and any member of faculty council can object once the document comes to the floor council. So Professor Shortell was correct, and I thank him for his remarks. Professor Saxena.
Yeah, I just want to make a remark because I'm in the graduate committee. So thank you all for approving the whole document. Otherwise, many of would have been lagging behind in appearing for the next bulletin. But I just want to make sure that we understand. So does it mean that the simple rationale is not enough and there will be always a clearance required while approving those documents?
I will again instruct the curriculum committee chairs to only ask for clearance when new courses are being introduced. Now, every member of council gets a copy of this document beforehand. So if you did your homework, I'm talking about in general, you should see what you might object to ahead of time and be prepared to defend it on the floor of council. The committee is not responsible to run after every single department in the college. That's not the committee's job.
Yeah.
They are responsible for clearance for courses.
Yeah, okay.
That's suspicious. For example, if I, in my department, introduce a course, the history of economics and computer science, I believe it would be appropriate for the chair of the graduate committee and the other to say, Professor Langsam, you better ask for clearance for that course. It's also the responsibility of the chair of me to ask for clearance, and I should be smacked down if I didn't ask for clearance in such a class, but it's also, so courses should get clearance. Other degree requirements belong to departments, but again, every one of you own the curriculum. Professor Maria Perez Gonzalez.
Hi, I just wanted to add to the discussion. While Professor Langsam is correct, legally, right, there's no clearance for these kinds of things, but we have practiced collegiality in terms of whether we're using another department's course or thinking about eliminating them from our curriculum. We should consult one another. That's what traditionally we do, because that might impact X departments, you know, whatever's going on over there, they should be aware. So there should be some conversation before it comes to the general, you know, even to the committee, to the curriculum committees, and definitely before it comes to the floor of council. And so just to stress that the committees, yes, should be aware that if one department is pulling out classes that do not belong to them, that you should remind, you know, the head of the curriculum committee of that department to please have this conversation. Otherwise, we're going to have this full council meeting conversation again in votes that we don't need to have. And to stress Professor Langsam's point, we all have a few days to read the documents. We should do that immediately to check if anything affects our department or, you know, what is of concern to us. So we could have these conversations beforehand and iron things out by the time we come to the floor of council.
And I thank you, Maria, for raising and reminding us so that collegiality is critical, especially in these tense times when people tend to not be so collegial. So yes, by all means, that's definitely a good point. Professor Bassell.
Yes, I appreciate everybody's comments, and just so the economics department could plan accordingly. In the fall semester, this past fall semester, this course 7021 ran with only 6 students. In the BUSN graduate program, our average class size is 41. So 6, just to give a sense, is actually a very low enrollment number, and the course is not being offered in the spring semester by the economics department. So it's a little surprising, actually, that they would raise an objection to a course that obviously they're not offering in the spring. In the fall, it only had 6 students. So yeah, collegiality is works both ways, in my opinion.
Thank you. Professor Chotel, I think you want the last word.
Thank you. I agree with the thread of the discussion here. I want to counter you just slightly in tone that although we do have the right to object to anything, we should probably not get in the habit of exercising that right. And as Maria pointed out, that work needs to get done before the document comes to council. Modifying these things from the floor is not an ideal mechanism, and I think it's not in the best interests of our students. So, but I again just want to stress that it's important for us to be thinking about the impact that curriculum has on our departments, but that's not the only criteria that we should be mindful of, and it's our responsibility, especially now in this body, to be thinking about what is in the best interest of our students, including students in particular kinds of programs. So, it does occasionally happen that we are in disagreement, that some people think, this and other people think that, and we have to make a decision together. But there are reasons why people who are administering programs make decisions about those programs that go into the motivation for for these curriculum documents. And so, yes, let's try to encourage collegiality by having those conversations before the material gets submitted to the committees, okay? Because it's an unfair burden to ask the committees to take on that work in addition to all the other work that the committee has to do in terms of processing the curriculum requests. And finally, I would just say the clearance is about making sure that new courses don't overlap substantially with existing courses. It is not a veto of disciplinary territory. Okay, so if you did your proposed a history of economics course, I would look to the economics curriculum to see if there was in fact such a course, and if the CIS had the expertise to offer such a course. But if there was no other course and they had the expertise to teach it, it's a legitimate course, right? So the clearance, I'm just saying my opinion as chair of the undergrad curriculum committee, clearance is not a veto power. Okay, I think we have to try to work that out before the meeting.
So Professor Schotel, I agree with you on some counts. It is not a veto power. Agreed. I also don't think that members of council will raise trivial objections on the floor of council just because they want to make, I trust my council meetings that are only going to bring up real objections, as Professor Klein did today. That was a real objection. I do think that, however, disciplines are disciplines, and my department has no business teaching the history of economics, or my department has no business teaching Shakespeare in the modern age. No business whatsoever. And I think the English department could legitimately say, CIS department, stay out of our business. However, I do want to support you that I agree it is not the chair's role of the curriculum committees to seek trouble where trouble doesn't exist. In other words, the best thing is that the chairs of the department should have a high bar of suspicion, speak it out before it gets to your committee. Your committee does not really need to think of every possible person who might complain. You'll never get anything done. I definitely agree that's not your burden, okay, or the graduate burden. Okay, this was a very interesting meeting. Every one of our meetings during COVID is getting more and more fascinating. What will the next one bring? Okay, is there any other new business?
Professor Langsam.
Yes.
It seems like my name was taken in vain. Is there anything that I need to respond to?
I don't think so. Your name is never taken in vain. It never, ever, ever.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. And Ellen repeats, never in vain. I agree in the chat box. Okay. Hearing no business, new business, a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Have a wonderful evening until next month. Nice to see everyone.
Thank you.
Stay healthy.
Thank you,
Stay
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.